There is a video of Charlie Kirk describing what would happen if I knew I only had 30 seconds to live. And in those 30 seconds, he declared that it wasn't his works, but his faith that would save him. And while I know that he was a deeply religious man, the Torah, and hence Judaism, and hence the basis of Christianity, disagrees with that. It says that a man shall live by his faith, means that the faith will allow him to fulfill all of what God wants from us. A person who is a man of faith that does not do good does not have faith. And a man who does good does so because he has at the foundation a tremendous amount of faith, and that's the reason why he does or she does good. If I had 30 seconds, I would say the following. I forgive anyone who's done anything to harm me or my family, except for those who wish to harm the entire Jewish people. I ask forgiveness from my family and to anyone who I might have harmed, stolen, deceived, hurt, insulted, violated in any way. I ask forgiveness for them because between man and man there is no forgiveness unless they forgive me. And to God I ask only that God look favorably upon his nation and the world and bring Messiah. And even if I don't merit to see Messiah, I hope that my death brings Messiah that much closer. Those would be my last words. That would be the last thing I would convey to my family and to those who know me. I want to also reply to some of the troubling videos that I've seen regarding Charlie Kirk, whom I admired, not because of his religiosity. I admired him because of the depth of his belief, because he knew that there is a God. He didn't just believe that there was a God, he knew that there's a God and acted accordingly. He was accused of being many things. He was accused of being a racist. He was accused of accepting deaths by guns, because he was against gun control. Why was he accused of being a racist? Because he was against DEI. And he was against reparations. So that made him a racist. Well, how does that make a person a racist? DEI is prejudicial. The civil rights movement and the Civil Rights Act flowered in the 60s. It's 60 years since then. It's 3 generations. It's time to take an assessment. And he said the assessment isn't good. The assistance that the government gives is not just a crutch, but it creates an impression that some people are just not good enough without a handout. And that's absolutely wrong. People came from the jungles of Vietnam, from Cambodia, from poverty in Korea and Pakistan, and established their lives in this country, became the most highly visible, productive people in this country. It has nothing to do with culture. It has nothing to do with a particular race. It has everything to do with taking an opportunity and working hard to achieve your goals. That's what happened to every immigrant society that came to this country, desperate and impoverished. The fact that it hasn't happened to the African American community is more social than racial. And that's what Charlie pointed out. Prior to the 1960s, the American family was stable. The African American economic position was better. Now, why is it that way? The answer is one thing: fathers stabilize a family. And instead of stressing DEI, he said stress fatherhood, responsibility. Don't embrace immorality as a standard, as a goal, or something to be joyous about. It's time to end single-parent homes. The only way to do that is by faith, because only through faith can standards of morality be established. If there is no faith, if there is no God, then there's no reason for having morality. And so that's what he was about. He was about telling people have faith, telling people be responsible. And when you're responsible, you will be rewarded. That's what happens. Doesn't have to be, you don't have to become Bill Gates. I'm not Bill Gates. But given that my father came here basically with a couple of dollars in his pocket, maybe less, my father became a successful businessman. I'm not as successful as my father. I chose a different path. I chose a path of becoming a religious servant of God. But God has helped me establish a family and succeed to the limits of my success. Nobody gave me anything. Nobody gave my father anything. Nobody gave my uncle anything. Nobody gave my grandparents anything. They worked hard and they succeeded. And that's the message that Charlie gave. It's not an anti-African American message. It's a message of hope that this is a country of great opportunity. And those who have tried to take the opportunities, for the most part, have been successful. Of course, there are going to be individuals. They're going to be first frustrated. There are government officials. There are all kinds of nasty people in this world, and some people will be frustrated. But for the most part, we're talking about the general curve. People who get a high school diploma, get a job, and then get married. By the time they're 50, 55, they're successful. They have a home, they have a boat, they take long vacations. That's the general success of most of this country. Those who want to be even greater success, you have to work very hard for that. There's no such thing as somebody all of a sudden become an instant success and a billionaire. You know, Bill Gates works very hard for his money. So did Warren Buffett. So did all the great billionaires. They had great ideas. They risked their fortunes, their lives, their efforts for their ideas. And they were rewarded for those ideas. But for every one of those successes, there were 10 people who were not successful. So the reward comes from risk. You don't take a risk, you're not going to get rewarded. But if you just go ahead and get a job, any job, and you come on time, and you get married only after you have a job, and you stay married to your spouse, most Americans will be successful, will be happy. They will realize the American dream. They'll have their own home. We don't need a palatial place. I don't have a palace. I've got a 2-story bed, 4-bedroom like anybody else in suburbia. We don't need palaces. Success is the ability of a person to take care of himself and herself, build a family, and have a successful family life. That's success. Great success could be other things, notoriety, affecting people, and so on. But the most important thing about life is responsibility and being there for your job, being there for other people, being there for your wife, being there for your kids. And that's what Charlie was all about. He was not an anti-black person. He engaged in people. I saw that people who he disagreed with, he never disparaged. He asked them why they felt that way. He gave his idea why he felt his way. So at least he didn't berate the other person, and the other person didn't berate him. I found his videos exciting, refreshing. I never found a tinge of hatred, bigotry, belittling others for their beliefs or races. I found nothing of the sort. I found him to be an engaging, inspiring, productive, powerful individual. My suspicion is the reason why people wanted him to be killed and why some crazy jerk actually did it is because he was so powerful. Charlie Kirk influenced tens of millions of people, and that number could have been in the hundreds of millions had Charlie been able to continue. He might have been elected president in another 8, 10, 12 years. That's how powerful he was. And it's a tragedy, just as the killing of JFK was a tragedy for this country. JFK represented a new perspective, a new inspiration on how to deal with things. It wasn't just that he was Camelot, that he was so handsome and his wife was so dashing. That's superficial. JFK came along with new ideas, a new vision for how to have this world be conducted, and that was destroyed by one deranged communist sympathizer, and maybe a whole bunch of communist sympathizers. But the death of Charlie Kirk is no less notable than the death of our President Kennedy, and no less notable than the attempted murder of President Trump. Charlie Kirk represented a new era of thought, a new era of looking at our lives and making our lives better. And they knew they couldn't defeat him in a debate, so they shot him. But his ideas continue. May they continue to flourish and make the lives of every person in the United States of America and this world better.